Hello everyone, welcome to Psicosapiens podcast. Today we have as a guest a Jorick Velde, which is a biologist and a student of behavioral and cognitive neuroscience at the Groningen University. I met him studying this master and I found him really interesting and I love the way he explained the things. Today we will discuss really interesting topics such as what's consciousness, hallucinations, chronobiology, the meaning of life and other topics. Here is my conversation with Jorick Velde. Yeah, we can continue talking about microphones. I think it's really important to feel comfortable in the conversation. Like, I think that I have learned from Joe Rogan, like, sometimes he just started like from the middle of the conversation because he was talking.
That's true. But also he has like this whole facility, and like all these props, and I think he shows his guests like all his props before he goes in to the interview. So then they're talking about some random shit that he just watched, because these guests are like, what the fuck does he all have? No.
What does he have in the
I think he has like a gym.
Like
a MMA gym or like a kickboxing gym.
Wow.
And he has like crazy props that he gets from guests, like special stones or elements, and like sick paintings that he gets from guests, all kinds of stuff that he just gets from everywhere.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, he's the biggest fucking podcaster out there, so
Yeah, he's amazing.
yeah, so that's really big advantage, I would say.
Yeah.
But also sometimes he starts like from scratch, because then notice like he sits down and he's like, hello, and then it's like, hi Joe, and then they start talking, but I think it's fine, honestly.
Yeah. I think he has an amazing ability to connect with all the people from every field. That's amazing.
Yeah, he's just so curious, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to lose that curiosity either,
Yeah.
I notice that sometimes with older people or something, that they become, more fixed on something, more fixed on their own behaviors and their own patterns, and then they cannot look out anymore. I would hate to become like that, later on. So like one of my biggest fears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good trait, to be open about everything and always learning, because what the fuck is life, right? If you don't learn every day or you don't want to change.
Yeah, but I know it's hard, because you see it, maybe you see it with your parents. I see it with my grandparents, for example, that they're very very linear thinking.
Yeah.
Because it was like religious, and life is about like getting a significant other, marrying them, and getting money. That's it, So always when I would go there, it's like, oh, do you have a girlfriend? And then it's like, no, for example.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, well, you should marry like a rich girl so that you can get a lot of money and then, be prosperous later in life. And I'm like, but that's not what I want.
Yeah.
that's life is not about this, So that's sad. It's a little bit sad. And I hope I don't become like that,
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah.
I hope I always remain open about all the directions.
Yeah.
At least, not every day, but in a couple of months, reflect about everything again.
Yeah.
Like, why I'm going to this place.
But do you think you see that a lot in Spain too? Like older people are more
Conservative?
Conservative, but also more just stuck in their ways,
Yeah.
They cannot look out that much, if there's something new in society, like for example TikTok, then they won't accept that as fast, they're like, oh, what is TikTok? I don't understand this, so I will not like it,
Yeah.
stuff like that. I just see it a lot in the Netherlands.
Yeah, I think it's the same in Spain, and I reflect about that because our parents are one of the generations with more contrast between them and their sons, because this amount of change that we have, like for instance YouTube, like you can work in YouTube, and 20 years ago it doesn't exist, and right now it exists. So they weren't able to taught us how to react in life, how to manage our emotions in relationships, because everything changed in liquid love or in social media. So it's like, yeah, in some point I understand, because they are, I think they are in some way frustrated because they weren't able to taught us how to act, because everything changed, and they are not even able to understand what's going on.
No. I think it's also with, what parents expect from kids now, or I guess already from us. Our parents already do this, but the standard path is like you get educated, and then after education you get a job, and you get that job and you stay with it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And then you get kids at some point, possibly like mid-20s, like that we are now, like according to them. But when we look around in our age group, there's so much people making money off the internet, like YouTubers, you have OnlyFans, you have Instagram influencers, TikTokers, and like it devalues education in a way, because you see people of our age, at least I see people of our age become so successful on things that, well, they take a lot of effort, and I wouldn't know, of course, because I'm not doing it. But it looks like education is not the only path anymore to making a living, and that really changed, So, for example, now I'm doing the masters with you, for example, and it's really nice and I love it, but I'm looking around me and I'm like, damn, if I was a plumber right now, especially in the Netherlands, but I think in Europe in general, because there's such a shortage, you could start like a plumbing company and make more than a professor makes each month.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, what am I doing 6 years of education, 7 years of education for, when I could do a 2-year education and maybe make more money than after 7 years of education? And imagine all the student debt I would have saved on that, But of course, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Still, it's like, damn.
No, I see your point. Like, everything is changing so much that you don't know if that education is gonna be valid in the next. I think our education, like the behavioral and cognitive neuroscience, would be still important, because neuroscience is a thing that is gonna be in the future.
Yeah.
In some way, we don't know how, probably more artificial intelligence or whatever, but I think it's gonna be still interesting. And one thing that I like a lot from the timing of behavior course, the course we had, is like, it was, for me, I felt like it's about how are you able to learn each day, like anything. Like one day I remember learning genetic in plants, when we were algae and plants, this group studying the latitudinal difference in the chronobiology, and I thought, I'm learning, and the next day learning another different thing, I think that's really good, because it was like team building work and learning whatever thing.
Yeah, I mean, that was really a really good course, I would say. I think I already got some of the aspects of that in my bachelor, so it was probably like a speed run for you. Yeah. But it was really hard, and it was indeed like I learned stuff every day too.
Oh yeah.
But I just hope we keep doing that, But then also sometimes it's nice to go into detail instead of learning broad things, because at some point it's nice to have a broad perspective on things, and also the master's interdisciplinary to begin with, but it's also nice to narrow it down to something. Otherwise, when you get to research, you want to go into detail, right? In one specific subject, and then you can really understand something instead of just getting like a broad picture. So I just hope we do that too. Like, for example, in neurobiology or neuroendocrine basis of biology, or what is it?
Basis of behavior, I think.
Yeah, the
neuroendocrine basis of behavior.
Yeah, that's it. So that course I'm really excited about, because it's gonna go really into detail about hormones, and I know you like Andrew Huberman.
Yeah.
And he talks about this stuff a lot. Like, it's completely his field of interest. So I would love to study more about that.
Yeah, I'm also really excited because I want to go really into the biology, but just biology, like, and see how it feels, because I think it's difficult but really interesting. Like, in the moment of learning, sometimes it's hard, like, holy shit, like this amount of names, but then after that you are able to process the information about the brain in another way, and I really like that.
Yeah. I wonder if at some point it's gonna get too confusing, like, for example, we now had timing of behavior, so okay, we get a lot of insight in the neuroscience and in chronobiology, so like what time does with specific things of behavior and what the function of time is in the brain and what it influences. Then we move to function of evolution and behavior, and then you get a perspective of the genetics of it and the genetics of behavior and how it evolves through DNA.
Yeah.
And then we move to neuroendocrine. So then it's about hormones and like that system in the body and how it influences behavior. And then once we study like a behavior in the future, we're like, okay, so you have the endocrine part, you have timing, you have this, that, you have all these factors. How the fuck are you gonna get to like what it actually is,
Yeah, too many variables.
Yeah. So that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, and it's also amazing because you learn here that, for instance, for one bird, as you said, there is these three amazing perspectives, like the timing, the evolution, the genetic, the neuroendocrine, and then what about one human? Like, we don't know anything. If we are not able to predict all the things for one bird,
yeah, it's already very difficult for like lower level organisms in that sense. It really is. That's why we study like mice, for example.
Yeah.
But you also have this worm, the C. elegans. It's not the earthworm, but it's this very interesting creature that has exactly 302 neurons in its body, and it doesn't change based on individual. So if you just think about that and think about the variation in neurons and neuronal connections in humans or in other species of animal, then it's really interesting that this animal, each individual has 302 neurons. That's it. Like, there's no variation in there.
Yeah.
And so then this really interesting creature, you can study their neuronal circuit and make like predictions over their whole population, you know? So if you study the individual and how their behavior develops, then you can also extrapolate it to other individuals because they have exactly the same amount of neurons. Whereas in humans, you cannot really do that, for example. So that's why I would love to study that animal, for example, or how signals propagate, because they have some quite interesting behaviors like feeding and how they move because of feeding, or like stimulus from outside, for example, predatory signals and how they respond to that. So if you study, for example, how they respond to a predator, and you can maybe have some link to their neurons, for example, that they give off luciferase. Yeah. So they become like, they shine light when they activate. Then you can maybe see through their skin which neurons are activated because of how they react to the predator. Yeah. So that would be really cool, stuff like that. And then from that you can move to maybe higher order animals with more difficult neuronal structures. Yeah. That would be really cool.
Yeah, I think I'm stuck in humans. I'm stuck in intelligent animals.
Don't worry, you'll get there after this master.
Before coming here, I thought, okay, behavioral neuroscience. I'm really interested in monkeys, dolphins, and humans, and let's go dive in. And now it's like, oh yeah, this bird. Oh yeah, 2 weeks of worms, and I'm good with 2 weeks of worms because it's just 2 weeks, and it's like this first part that you need to learn the basics, and then you do some experiments with the worms, how they react. But then it's like, okay, let's move to another thing, because 6 months of animals I'm okay, but I wouldn't be like able, like a lot of years of animals in general. Like, I thought I love them in neuroscience terms, but I realized that I'm more human researcher or human
I guess that's where the psychology background comes into play. Yeah. But the difficult thing about that is that I don't know what you exactly want to study later on, but my take on neuroscience and the research about it, and for example psychology, is that we already talked about this, but like psychology focus on understanding behavior, and from behavior we go to the brain, and then we try to make sense of the behavior in terms of what it does in the brain with the signals, and then we go deeper and deeper and deeper into understanding the brain and the specific structures of it. But that's a top-down approach where you start with the like the phenomenon, the behavior, and then we go within the body. Whereas neuroscience focuses on manipulating the brain and then seeing what it does to the behavior. So the other way around, which is a bottom-up approach. And the problem with studying humans, it has advantages. Like you study a complex animal, it can give an account of what it's feeling and what it's seeing or smelling, you know, all kinds of stuff. But then you cannot really say what is causing that in the brain. You have, of course, EEGs, fMRIs, other imaging techniques, but then still you cannot exactly see what is the pinpoint cause of that behavior. And the other way around, I know very like specific examples in neuroscience with, for example, a rat that had a gene implanted or a gene included in their genetic makeup, in the genome, that caused them to be more aggressive.
Yeah.
And so when we put this gene in other rats, we could see that they became more aggressive. And that's like a very clear association, right? You change this single gene in an animal and it causes this very big effect in behavior.
Yeah.
So then you're like, aha, so that has a direct role in the behavior. Whereas if you try to do it the other way around, it's very difficult to come to the gene.
Yeah,
you know? And that's where for me it starts, you know, like trying to understand it from the bottom up.
I mean, what I'm gonna say, like I came to the neuroscience field also because when I was in the psychology, like I love psychology, and now that I'm in the other part, I sometimes miss it. But for sure, I thought I need something more scientific, you know, because I see it as like the scientific fields. I see them as a percentage of art and science. For instance, for me, psychology has a lot of more art than neuroscience. Like, of course, psychology has science because they are based on scientific method. But the clinical psychology field, for instance, that has more science than the psychometry field, at least for me. So I also thought, I wanna go to the basis, like, okay, if I do this, then this is happening, like in the brain, in the neuron, like, okay, one dopamine neuron is firing, and this is it, you know? But I wanted to go to that part because as we discussed in the cognitive science field, because I was in the cognitive neuroscience itinerary in Spain, I thought, okay, these models for predicting behavior and for predicting our memory and our attention are really interesting, but for me, you never get this perfect parallelism to the reality. Like you can use it so good for predictive things, but for me it's like never perfect. It's never gonna be perfect because it's a model.
And also, if I think about, okay, where would this research lead us in, for example, 100 years, right?
Yeah.
Then from the top-down approach, like what you just said about the cognitive neuroscience department and their theories about, for example, memory, then I think they would like keep running in circles, kind of. At some point you have like a model of how memory works, and then you make that model better and better and better and better, but you'll never like translate it to a real brain.
Yeah.
So then after 100 years, I think, okay, you made a very good model and maybe it can say a lot of things about the brain, but it's not a brain, you know? And then when I think about what similar research in, for example, neuroscience would do, that our professor also did, Professor Robert Havikus, where he studies like memory and learning in the brain, where you can see directly like the elongation of spines on specific neurons, like I think here in this picture, like you can see like the elongation of the spines, and then it's like, aha, okay, so that's like a clear indication of new memories forming, new connections forming, and if you then like build that up, in 100 years you will have like a more global explanation of how it works in the brain, like in a real brain, so not in a computer program. So I think there's like a purpose for both research. But I think from the neuroscience perspective, it will like yield more things, yield more success, more understanding about the brain. So that's why I guess we're both in neuroscience, right?
What in this itinerary, in the cognitive science itinerary, I have this course which was functional architecture of the mind, which was basically philosophy of the mind, like really cool.
Yeah, sounds really cool.
Really cool. It was about, like, we never do that in any science, like philosophy of mind, but I think it's really interesting to go to the basis of each science and why are we doing that, especially in psychology, because what's psychology? Art, social science, depends on the field. I think it's really important to do that. So we were destroying every pillar in psychology, like, okay, how this works, what is behaviorism, why neuroscience, it was the next thing to predict behavior and why we're using. But then this professor used this computational theory of the mind, which combines like neuroscience as the first pillar, the first important thing, but then combines it with some computer program things like the language thing. Like if you combined like the language itself, like not the human language, but having a language with some structure like syntaxes, you need that. That creates a better approach for predicting things. But again, I think right now, as far as I know, this is better for predicting behavior than neuroscience, but you are also using programs, as we said, and models. So I don't know what's gonna happen in the future, but I don't know, that was like, wow, really interesting for me. It's quite long, that's why I didn't go too deep in the theory, but
it sounds quite intense, but I'm then also curious what he could predict, with like combining syntax and the neuroscience. Then I'm curious what he then could predict, because then it was a computer program, right?
It was like I mean, like they don't taught us as a computer program, but more as a theory. And I didn't go to one specific thing, one specific behavior, and then how to predict that with the theory. It was more about destroying all the theories that we have in psychology and then proposing a new one
from the ground up, basically.
Yeah, like destroying the arguments from this and this and this, and why neuroscience is not able to predict the things now, like all the things. Like this question, this is a really good question. Is it because we are never gonna be able to see all the things in the brain, or is it because there is something that we are missing, and eventually with our technology would be able to see it? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a big question, and I'll probably struggle with that for the rest of my life, to be honest, because you have some theories, for example, then it comes to consciousness for me, but you have some theories that try to look at the like how areas of the brain interact, and then trying to also in cognitive modeling, for example, cognitive neuroscience, also in computer programs they try to do this, but you have people that try to look at the various brain areas and how they connect and how they propagate signals from one to another, and how this information processing together, how this leads to behavior or explains how the brain works. But of course then you're not looking at specific details of one brain area, so then you miss out on understanding really in depth one brain area and how it works. So then that would allow you to make like a global picture of how the brain works, and it might explain some things, but then you run into detail for example, what I explained to you already another day, like if you think about how we store a picture in our brain, you know, I think, we can see this microphone. And if I think about this microphone tomorrow, I can picture it in my head. I can picture the color, I can picture like the shading, whatever. But how would I do that? Because tomorrow I'm not here. And tomorrow I'm just somewhere else. So it's completely in my brain, fabricated in my brain. And, you know, if you have a global approach that looks at, well, this connects to the area of the visual cortex, you know, and then it goes to the prefrontal cortex, and then it goes to the hippocampus where, you know, memories are stored. And then you connect all this, but then it's like, but how is this image then produced in the brain? You can't answer that. So explaining phenomenal things like that, you can't do that with this global approach. But with the detailed approach, maybe you can say like, okay, so this is how your brain in the visual cortex produces this image and like makes like a internal representation of it. But then the question is, because you looked into detail, like, okay, but how does it propagate in the brain, and how do you think about it, you know? So there's two different approaches, and they should both be connected, you know? So I think for me, then you first should look at one brain area and look at how this thing works, and then how it ties into the whole brain. But that's so hard. That would like take 2,000 years or something to do, I would think. So I'm very interested in like artificial intelligence approaches, because you have some research that tries to simulate images just from like feeding criteria into a program, and then it can produce this image based on that criteria without having seen it, you know?
That's crazy.
So that's pretty promising, I would think. But then you're looking at the specific thing, you're trying to simulate it, and then it's like, but how does it work in the brain? You know, so it's like this, you're in this rat wheel, you know, and I don't know how to fucking get out. It's I don't know. What do you think?
Like about if we can see in like if we can explain everything, like if someday we would be able to explain everything with neuroscience, or what do you mean?
What do you think the best approach is, like from like a global thing, like studying all the brain areas, how they connect, or studying like something specific? Where would we start?
I think as you said, like you need to study both of them, and in some point connect them and turn them into one thing. And as all the world is becoming right now like really interdisciplinary, because in order to do that, you don't need just neuroscience and just microbiology. If you are studying one human or even one bird, you need sociology. Like you need to understand how this human is gonna interact with that, because maybe if in this glass you are replaying the tape, you know, with some bacteria, and see how, okay, this bacteria is doing that, and then the next generation, and then they evolve to that, and okay, this is really cool, I'm able to predict the evolution. But what's about in the real world? You cannot do that, because you always need to take one thing and study that thing apart from them. This is the argument from the sociologist always, like, you cannot study the humans. What are you doing in psychology? You are taking one human and seeing, like, asking one questionnaire, and then what? This is not a human. Human is social animal. So I think in some ways, maybe with super artificial intelligence, you can combine one day all this approach. But I think you need all of them to predict things.
Yeah, and I think there's still another approach, because so you have like specific brain area and like global approach, but then also you have people, and I think there was a guest lecture in Intro to BCN, like the basal cognition lecture, and this guy is a philosopher.
Ah, yeah.
And he tries to study cognition on a basal level, so in like very basic animals that have a very simple nervous system.
Like Fred?
Yeah, like Fred, yeah.
Yeah.
And that approach is also quite good, I would say, because then you start, because, okay, what's cognition? We cannot really say it, like a very broad term. Well, it means information processing, but, you know, we cannot quantify it.
Yeah.
And so when you start at a very low life form and you study like, oh, okay, it reacts to food in its environment, you know, it's a very basic thing that every organism needs, otherwise it dies. And if it does so by interactions in their nervous system, but this nervous system is super simple, then you can pretty easily find out what causes it in the nervous system for this animal to produce this behavior, you know? But then you have to scale it up to like, okay, this very primal animal evolved to something on the phylogenetic tree, to another animal that has a more complex nervous system, and try to find out how in that nervous system this same behavior is produced.
Yeah.
And then you move up, all the way to humans. But yeah, that's a very long road too. It's a very painstaking thing to do, but it is one of the approaches that I feel like have the most credibility, you know, because you start from the basis.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I think that's it's really difficult question.
Yeah.
Like, what's the best approach?
Yeah.
But I think that's one good approach. But I mean, so many variables. It was like, yeah. Then you are up. Like you have all this process done, and you go up, and then if you rerun everything, does it really predicting like?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, if we would rerun it, that would be like the predictability of evolution that we kind of had an assignment about. But I think if we would study like living animals, because they're still like very, very simple life forms, or like simple, what we consider simple, I guess. Very simple life forms that have very simple nervous systems. But they have behavior, of course, so you could study that behavior, whatever it is. Something with food would be an easy approach, I think, because every animal needs food. But if you would study with a living, simple organism, and then study another organism that you know evolved from that because of their genetic makeup, they're very similar, then I guess you can realistically, I can picture it in my head that you can move up this chain and study this behavior and how it relates to the nervous system in a good way, you know, like in a provable way. Yeah,
but I mean, with that approach, like if you go from this earthworm and then to the next earthworm, which is best receptors, photoreceptor or whatever, and then to the next one, like, okay, you have this connection between the behavior or the food and the photoreceptor and the phylogenetic tree, but then eventually, okay, imagine you spend all your life, like 1,000 life going up to the next animal, then you reach that point between the Homo ergaster and the next one, when do you develop consciousness? That's the blowing mind moment for me. You know, like from being a monkey with some characteristic, like, okay, they are fucking really smart, they can manipulate tools and things, but then where is the point that you take your hand, cut your hand, put blood and do like art?
Where does art begin? I mean, then you would have to answer, because you mentioned consciousness, then you would have to define...
What's consciousness?
So, like, my thesis was kind of about this, so I really found it important to, like, define it in my thesis, because if you talk about this very broad concept that's, like, is in philosophy, psychology, neuroscience, daily life, like, meditation practices... all forms or all kind of professions, this term is used. So for me, it means the experience or like, yeah, it's very hard.
Yeah, it is.
But consciousness for me is the phenomenal experience of it. And by what I mean by that is that there is a sensation of me experiencing this moment.
Uh-huh.
So, okay, that's also quite vague still. So let me give an example. I know, or I can assume that you are conscious because I can assume that you have also an experience of being here. You know, we talk about us being here and us having this like podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So that would confirm for me that you are conscious. And of course, for me, I can prove it for myself, you know, because I am experiencing this world around us. But for animals, it gets difficult, right? And so for like a dog, for example, a lot of people would say, well, yeah, a dog would be conscious, you know, because they show quite complex behavior, they show emotion. And I think emotion is for some people like a hallmark for consciousness, that you can feel something about it. But I don't think that doesn't have any value. I think that's like a human bias.
Mm-hmm.
But then when we go, for example, to maybe an ant or something, then it becomes quite hard, you know, because ants do show quite complex behaviors, you know, if you would study them in detail, you know, foraging for food and protecting the colony, fighting for the colony, and they react to pheromones. Yeah, very intricate behaviors, especially when you take them all together, like a group. But not a lot of people would say in an instant like, yes, ants are conscious. Because from an outside perspective, this ant shows quite, well, not robotic behavior, but quite simple behavior. But of course, we cannot look into the mind of an ant and say like, oh, there's nothing here, you know, it's just running on a script or something. Yeah. So that's where it becomes very difficult. But yeah, for me, the definition would be to be something, to have an experience of the world, to experiencing it. And this is also the problem that David Chalmers proposed, and he's a professor at New York University, and he's a philosopher, and he wrote about the hard problem of consciousness, and that's basically this, that can you imagine what it's like to be a bat, for example?
Yeah.
So you cannot imagine it, but maybe there is an experience to being a bat, or to being a dog, or even to being an ant.
Yeah.
And if that is so, then this animal is conscious, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is the hard problem, because you can never, or not yet, but maybe we can never be able to go into the mind of someone else, or to another organism. But the easy problem of consciousness that he also stated in his papers is that we can look at the underlying neuronal structure of it, you know? We can look into the brain, we have EEGs, we have other imaging techniques, we can manipulate genes, and taking it all together, we can gather evidence of what makes us conscious. But that's the easy problem. But then, okay, for example, we have a full understanding of the brain, right? Yeah. We know everything about it. We completely simulated a brain in a computer program or whatever. We made like, we cloned the brain or whatever. Mm-hmm. Can we then still go the extra step and say, well, this brain is conscious?
Yeah.
You can never actually do that, as far as I think now, you know? So that's the hard problem, and closing that gap is going to be very hard. Yeah.
And for instance, like about the being a bat,
mm-hmm.
like I understand that point, but wouldn't you add this being able to reflect about being a bat, what it's also consciousness? Because at least for me is this think about the thinking, or thinking about the thinking, the thinking, that what makes me think about the conscious, or like being aware. For me, it's I would define something like that.
Yeah, so to think, basically.
But to think about the thinking.
Yes.
You know?
Also, that you're aware
or
of that you are thinking.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
to be aware about that you are seeing or looking or listening, but not just listening. For me, the difference remain in that gap also.
So I've spent a lot of time thinking about this because this is like for me the biggest mystery in the universe, actually, even more than Big Bang Theory and like black holes and whatever, because to me you have that and how this universe works, but then after that you have whether we can experience it or not. You know? So the fact that we can experience this world, this universe, that's a bigger mystery to me than the universe itself. So that's why I'm here and not in like physics. But I think like in some way our thinking and our experience is bound to our sensory signals, you know? For example, for humans, I think the biggest indicator is like sight, like visual awareness of the world. Of course you have smell, taste, you can name all the senses. But then I'm thinking, okay, if we want to study consciousness or look at what is underneath this, can we imagine someone being or something being conscious without any sensory information about the world? So is there actually an experience to be had when we take all the senses away? So I was thinking like, maybe we can go in a sensory deprivation tank, right? But then you run into the same problem because you step in this tank and, this is a tank where there is water and I think it's very salt water, so you float on the surface. It's completely pitch black dark. There's no sound. There's no vision. It has no particular smell. It's like your body temperature, or like it's a temperature that you don't feel the warmth. So I thought, okay, it takes away a lot of your senses, right? And it should be a very creepy experiment because I think some people hallucinate in there.
I've heard that.
But then still, you don't take away all the sensations, right? Because you're still floating, you can still feel your body and stuff. So you're still aware and you're still getting sensory input, even if you try to take everything away. So I don't think we can actually make an experiment in which we take away all the senses. So it's like a untestable hypothesis. But I don't know if there's like something outside of our sensory information. And we can envision like an ant has also senses, right? It also senses its environment, otherwise it wouldn't survive. Every organism has this, even bacteria. But maybe for bacteria, they have less input. We have like vision, smell, etc. But bacteria maybe have chemoreceptors. Maybe they sense it through like molecules in their direct vicinity. Maybe they can sense heat, but they don't have vision, as far as I know. You know, they don't have vision. They have some type of smell, maybe, but by chemoreceptors. But they lack a lot of the sensory information that we have. So maybe our consciousness, maybe our perception is just more rich than this organism that seems to us more simple. But still, they're conscious, but to a lesser degree than us. But I don't know. This is what I'm thinking, but I'm not completely sure if this is the case. So what do you think?
Wow, I think you put on the table a really, really good question. Like, is it this consciousness? Consciousness is bound to perception, and then until which point is bound to that? Like, is it consciousness the same as high perception, or it's different and independent? Wow. I think it's amazing question.
But I mean, you did meditation, right? And you went to a retreat, right? So I would love to do that because like the neuroscientists that like kind of inspired me to do neuroscience and to study this and to like spark my interest in this. They also went on retreats, you know, to India or Thailand, and they spent like 3 months there. And I thought like, okay, maybe this will give me some very profound insight in perception and awareness and ultimately consciousness. So what did this experiment or this experience give you?
Yeah.
For some kind of insight in consciousness, or?
I think it can like my philosophical answer or whatever would be like they are linked, like they had a correlation but not a causation. So because the thing you said, with the same amount of perception as any human in all the world, you can go to a retreat in India for 1 month, 2 months, whatever, and you reach another point of consciousness, let's say, and with this point of consciousness you are able to reflect more, and you are more aware of every moment. Okay, how do we measure that? Okay, really difficult, but let's say you are able. So in some point, with the same amount of perception, you are increasing your consciousness compared to other humans. So I think they are related, but I could say in some way they are different things.
Okay. So you think that consciousness in its core, in its foundation, it's not completely dependent on sensory information?
Yeah, because you can be, if you close your eyes, in some way, you can be conscious of you can be aware of your thinking and your flashlights when you close your eyes. So yeah, it's a really difficult answer, but I would say that they are related but not the same.
Okay, and yeah, I guess then for me, because you said higher consciousness, right?
Yeah.
And I do believe it because I've also meditated, and I should really meditate more, but I do notice also with yoga and maybe any form of hyper focus, and this can be in maybe sports or producing art, you also reach this very specific focus on maybe one specific thing or two specific things, but not more. But this, I think, can bring you into some elevated state of thinking about what you're doing or about your sensory signals in your brain or what you're experiencing. But then for me, it's like, okay, how do we test this, you know?
That's a big question.
And I talked to my girlfriend about this actually also, maybe it was this morning or yesterday, and she told me about the default mode network a little bit, and I really want to do more research and more reading into this, but I think it's something in theory of mind too, the default mode network. Maybe you had it in your bachelor a little bit?
Maybe with the Spanish name, but I have right now some knowledge linked to that sentence, but not too much.
Okay, so from what I understand, it's not much about it, but default mode network is this theory in psychology that it's this mode where you go into when you're not thinking about anything. So your brain goes into the default mode network when you're doing meditation, for example, or you are really focused on your art or something that you're just, you hear this from a lot of artists. I myself dance, so sometimes when you dance, which of course also art, then at some point you get into this state of mind, this flow state almost.
flow experience.
Like
when you lose the notion of time and you are just performing really well in a difficult task, but you are just into that moment. Like all your sense, all your energy channels are in one point.
And I think it can be achieved through art or sports sometimes, or meditation, like through a lot of things. But I think self-expression in essence, I think it is. But I can think of like scenarios where I was dancing, and then you hear the music, you do get sensory information, but your mind is blank. But you are creating, you are dancing, you are painting your art, or you are just focused on not thinking about anything within meditation. And then you go into this default mode network, and it's supposedly very healthy for you. And she also said that somehow this is very much linked to us feeling alive. So it seems to me that maybe you have maybe two modes. For example, one at which you are very focused on things in the external world and trying to make sense of things and trying to achieve things. And then the other mode is the default mode network, in which you are not really thinking about anything, but then you're just experiencing.
Yeah.
And also, she said that this default mode network is activated while doing mushrooms. And I was like, that makes quite a lot of sense, you know? It's like, this seems to be correct.
Yeah. Okay, before going to psychedelics, I wanted to ask you something related with that. Because the other day when you mentioned me Anil said, I watched a couple of conference and he was mentioning that we have this consciousness and you can be, because I wanted to relate it with consciousness, you can be aware of your thinking but aware of your listening now, okay? Let's say that internal and external. About the external, he proposed that we are hallucinating everything in the external part, but the point is that there is a conscious, like conscience in people that you are not hallucinated. So you are hallucinating this glass, but we are not, because everyone sees this glass. So what do you think about hallucination, or how do you see them in terms of reality? Are they reality? Are they a perception? Or
so if you think about our senses, we can see color. You know, we have 3 options in our we got this in timing of behavior course, but your eye has 3 options that really are sensitive to specific wavelengths of light. And therefore, like combining these 3 options, we can see a very broad spectrum of light, for example. But we also have other organisms on the planet that have maybe 4, 5, even 6 cones, and also some animals that have 2 or 1, or they only have rods, so they can only see like contrast, but not specifically color. So for this animal, their reality is the world is black and white, for example. So that's their reality. And if we could talk to these organisms and say like, no, there's much more than this, they would be like, no, they won't believe it. And you cannot tell them otherwise, because their evolution has brought them to this point of evolving this trait, because it functions for their survival. But that's it. That's where evolution stops, you know? So they will not believe you, and their reality then is fundamentally different from that of us. But we cannot say that their reality is less valid than ours, because our reality of the external world is also based on our senses. And then when there's this butterfly or this bird that has way more options than us and can see way more distinction in color, then again, we cannot say, their reality is more well defined, or their visual reality is more defined than ours. It's just different. But we can to some degree see objects the same way. I mean, us humans, we all, I believe, have 3 options. So therefore we will probably on a grand scale see this object the same way. For example, this piece of paper will be white. The text on it will be black. My sweater will be blue, purple, right? But still there is variation in this. There's people that are colorblind, and then we can relate this to their options. We cannot say this is the reality and this is not. So hallucinations, I guess in that sense it is true what he's saying, We are having a perception of the world that is based on our genetic makeup, our body, and what it can experience. But it's funny because these hallucinations then do allow us to survive in this world. And some organism with a completely different perception of things that we also see can also survive in this world. So that means there's a lot of, biologically speaking, means there's a lot of options for organisms to go in, a lot of realities as you will, that are feasible for evolution or feasible for survival.
Yeah.
But then you cannot also say that there is one specific reality that is true. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's the answer. Like, of course, it comes down to reality is subjective.
Yeah.
But then in the neuroscience like terms, you can also argue about this.
Yeah, because this bat or this dolphin using sonar and echolocation, is this reality more real than us? Yeah. You don't know. And
No.
like we, as you said at the beginning, we cannot perceive the world as they do. And that leads me to one philosopher, Henry Bergson, who says, okay, we have this visible spectrum from these 400, I think 700 nanometers, wavelengths, kind of. We can see this, but how are we gonna be able to interpret the world only with this? You know, because okay, you have these tools, you can see infrared and ultraviolet, but they are tools. And even though you have with these tools more vision, how are you gonna interpret it? The everything, the all from one part, from one perspective, you know? And that I love that discourse, this argument, because it's like we are only one tiny part, and how from this tiny perspective, with only a couple of perception, vision things, are we going to interpret the organism and the physics of the universe? Maybe we are missing a really big point, and that's why we don't know the things, you know?
Yeah.
So he was always like, we are never gonna be able to interpret the reality because it's from one perspective, the human perspective.
Yeah, I think he might be right, but would be a very sad reality. Like,
it's super sad.
yeah, I mean, it does make sense what he's saying, right? So if we then think about like consciousness and how we would study this or study the brain, it seems like, according to his rationale, we would need like a more intelligent being.
Yeah, exactly.
Other than the human race. So could be aliens or whatever, you know, that are smarter than us and can communicate with us. And then they can tell us how our brain works.
Yeah.
Because we are trying to figure out how we work from our perspective, which is not at all everything, you know? And I think the one thing that humans do that like kind of goes out of that is physics and math. So for example, math is built upon this syntax, right? Like 1 + 1 is 2. But you can generalize it for the whole universe. For example, the Newton's laws with gravity, they will be valid here on Earth. They will be valid on the moon.
Yeah.
They will be valid on all the extra or the planetary bodies in the universe. And it will always be right. So this is something that we discovered, which is crazy. Something we discovered about the universe that is unchanging. And then, you know, we of course again not have the full picture because like we have quantum mechanics now, and there is formulas for like predicting where an object will land and stuff, but it's all based on probability, and that makes it very unsatisfying because we cannot say, oh, we throw it this way, it will land this way.
Yeah.
But now they're trying to combine like hardcore formulas like Newton's law of gravity, Einstein's general relativity, which is also quite set in stone, and quantum mechanics to explain like deeper things, and it's called quantum gravity, and it's super complex. I don't understand it, but
Me neither.
yeah, I think no one does. To be honest, I think it's not understandable for us, but I think it's funny that we, with our kind of simple brain in like broad in a broad perspective, can like extrapolate laws of the universe. But yeah, I don't know then what's outside of that even. You know, we have some laws, we can predict some things in our world, and it causes us to have telephones, microwaves, microphones, all kinds of tools that are actually crazy and were like crazy 50 years ago, you know, and like the internet. But then I'm like, okay, it's still based on inferring things based on our perception, but maybe our perception is missing like this whole other spectrum of the universe from which we could like make laws, you know?
Yeah.
Or predict like how the universe works in different ways. So it's still very limiting. I hope we can like bridge that at some point.
Do you think that in some day we will become these aliens that you mentioned, that they are able to explain us consciousness and perception and reality and how to fit quantum mechanics with general relativity? Do you think we would be that aliens someday?
Okay. Well, it's very difficult because
it is.
I think if we let evolution go its course, if we would sustain planet Earth for as long as possible, if we would get our shit together and really like take care of the Earth, then I think we wouldn't go extinct. I think that the only way we would go extinct is if we destroy ourselves or our planet and we have nowhere left to go. But other than that, I don't see us like being like outcompeted in evolution, you know, because we're so far ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So I think at some point, if we get our shit together, we can become those aliens, you know. But that's a big if, you know, because the world is kind of like going to shit, and I think for us to reach that point, it takes like maybe another 1,000 or 2,000 years, because we already have done a lot in the past 100 years.
Yeah.
But when it comes to physics, for example, Einstein was the latest really big figure that invented general relativity, and that like causes us to have GPSs and phones and whatever. And we're also already using quantum mechanics, although we don't completely understand it. So that's already been established for quite some time now, like maybe 80 years or something. So we are kind of like at the stop point now, where not a lot is happening, not any big theories are coming together. But yeah, it could very well be that maybe even in 20 years, there is this theory that combines, for example, general relativity and quantum mechanics, and that will like explain so much in the universe.
Yeah.
And then we like make this big leap again, you know, in humankind, and maybe then we can time travel. Who knows? Like, it's very uncertain.
Yeah. Do you think that there are life out there, like intelligent life in other planets?
Yeah, I mean, there's you mentioned this guy, I don't know who it was, Carl Sagan, or that he made this calculation that like expected no life to be out there, or
no, like he created this equation with a lot of variables to predict life out there. And I also wanted to ask you that, like, what do you think about this equation to predict life out there? Because I know you were kind of skeptical.
Yeah, I think it's quite stupid, to be honest. Like,
fucking Carl.
Yeah, I think it's very arbitrary. And I've done a minor in physics and astronomy because I was, of course, very interested in these questions, and also physics. I have like thought about it a lot of times to maybe shift to physics and astronomy to just get into the core of the universe and like how our universe works. But his equation, he takes maybe, I haven't of course like read things about it, so I'm speculating here, but you can take all the variables into account, and I bet he did. I bet he took all kinds of variables.
It was a really long equation.
Yeah, but still there are, I had a course about this.
Yeah.
Like it was, I don't know what it's exactly called again, but it was about biology on extraterrestrial planets.
Uh-huh.
And there are, in fact, even in our galaxy, there are Earth-like planets out there.
Yeah.
So I don't think people really know this, but even in our galaxy already, you know, and our galaxy is one of, almost infinite amounts of galaxies. And it already has planetary bodies that are quite similar to Earth, where life could be sustained. And that is accounting for, because I think Carl Sagan only accounts for carbon-based life.
I don't remember the question, to be honest.
Yeah, okay, but carbon-based life, all life on Earth is based on carbons.
And I think maybe he took that into account because he was also proposing this thing that maybe out there are aliens made of gases and we cannot understand that. So I think he was continue.
Yeah, I mean...
I don't remember the equation.
Yeah, and I also don't know how you would put this in an equation, like accounting for other kinds of life forms, because again... it's like maybe becoming full circle now, but he's making these predictions on what we experience what we see life could be, and also on our vision, touch, smell, and all the kind of evidence that we have of how our universe works, which might be very limited. So I could also say, and it would be equally valid from his argument, I could say, well, maybe there is a life form or an entity or a conscious entity out there that is based on something we do not understand yet in the universe. And he could not refute it. But I think like in science you want testable hypotheses. So I could say this and my argument wouldn't be worth shit. But I think also therefore his argument wouldn't be worth shit. Like him saying, there's no other life out there. No, but
I think he didn't say there is no life. Like I think the conclusion was something like maybe or something like that.
Oh yeah, okay.
So it wasn't 0, it was 0.0000.
Yeah.
But he was really like, oh yeah, I want life. I think he got criticized because some human bias, as you said, that we want life out there in some way. Because that would be like, we are not alone.
Yeah. And I mean, I also wrote like an essay about the probability or the feasibility of silicone-based life. And silicone is this molecule or this atom that is, or no, it's a molecule, but it's based on an atom that can hold 3 bindings instead of 4. Carbon can hold 4. So that means that the way molecules can be built up with this compound, that they are more limited than carbon. But nevertheless, we could imagine that this life form is based on silicone, or a life form out there can be based on silicone, and they might be restricted to other temperatures or other radiation. Maybe they're resistant to radiation. And for example, there is sand on planet Earth, and on the beaches there's crazy amounts of silicone. So also this tells us that in the universe there is like an abundance of silicone. So we could also argue that the silicone is like out there, on other planets, planets that are similar to Earth, or in favorable conditions for like developing this silicone-based life. So that's a possibility. That's not like 0 probability, And when you say, okay, maybe it's 0.1%, and you then scale it to the entire universe, which we don't know how big it is, it's could be infinite, then you would say like, okay, it's somewhere. It might not be anywhere close to us. It might be like millions of light years away, and we wouldn't know it, and we had no way of contacting it, So I mean, you could think about it, and I would love to believe that there is life out there. It would make our universe way more interesting. But we just don't know. Maybe they're like behind on us. Maybe we are the most advanced. Could be.
Or they already destroyed themselves.
Maybe, Maybe life forms are like when they reach a certain intelligence, they will destroy themselves or something. I don't know.
Me neither.
And it's also that like we are smart enough. It's funny because we are smart enough to understand the universe in profound ways through physics, through also neuroscience, genetics, psychology. We think about thinking, and still we cannot take care of our place on this planet, you know?
Yeah.
We cannot take care of the environment. And we're still quite primal, you know? Like, we're still killing each other. There's still wars out there.
Yeah.
So it's quite weird. It's like we have this very profound understanding within our perception, of course, of the universe. But still, we're so dumb sometimes.
Yeah, I was listening yesterday a podcast of Sam Harris, which is, you know him?
Yeah, that's why I became a neuroscientist.
No way.
He is a neuroscientist.
Okay, I will ask it about him now. So he said this sentence that we have technology godlike, we have institutions from the medieval times, but we have emotions from the prehistoric times.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, we are always gonna be like that. We are always gonna, or no. Well, we maybe with CRISPR-Cas9 we can cut our genes and change our emotions, but from now. So why Sam Harris leads you to study neuroscience?
Yeah, so Sam Harris is an interesting character because he's a neuroscientist and he is also very much into meditation. He went on those meditation retreats that I talked about.
Yeah,
he's
in
like
India.
one of the
Right?
yeah, and also like in other Eastern countries. And he still does it, and so he talks about neuroscience and perception and free will, etc., from a neuroscientific perspective, but also from a kind of more spiritual perspective. You know.
Yeah.
And he tries to combine these because science cannot tell us everything about perception and about how we experience the world, and spirituality does have like some very interesting ideas about it, and combining those could lead to like a bigger understanding. And he really talked a lot about this and got me really interested in consciousness. And I think his wife wrote a book about this too, about consciousness, and I still want to read it. I should like order it soon. So that really inspired me, and it sparked my interest, and I was already listening to a lot of podcasts about physics and stuff. And then I thought, but wow, this is like even more interesting. So then from that point on, I knew that I wanted to study behavior and neuroscience for my major. And I already knew that I also wanted to do this master. I did C-track first, which is like cognitive neuroscience and cognitive modeling, trying to model things in the brain like visual perception or time perception. But yeah, that's like shifted for me too much towards psychology. So therefore I am where I'm now, like studying behavioral neuroscience. But him and Neil Seth, which you mentioned earlier, those are like characters that really try to combine more spiritual ideologies and spiritual ideas with neuroscience, and I really like that. I think that will probably lead us to better understanding of the brain.
I love that approach because as I see the reality, like if I think, okay, I am a living organism in a sphere that is spinning around a heat ball which we call sun, and I am this tiny organism that is conscious of the world, and we have society and we have more living. I think, okay, in these 80 years that we have, because we are gonna die, like we won't be always alive, how do I want to spend my life? Okay, understanding the world for sure, and if I choose that approach, like, okay, which is the meaning of life, why we are alive, what is consciousness, I also choose this neuroscience for sure, which is a kind of, let's say, biology in broad term more, psychology, and philosophy and physics. You know, I would choose, if I need to choose four, I would choose that four. In physics, I'm still far, like, not really into. I'm still going to another points, but for sure I would choose. Would you choose, which 4 or 5 would you choose?
Like 4 branches?
Yeah, 4 branches, yeah.
Well, like I agree with you. Like I want to study how the universe works. That's why I'm doing neuroscience and why I maybe wanted to do physics.
Yeah.
So I would first choose neuroscience,
Okay.
Like and physics for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I went to Bali for 3 months, and I was thinking about where I want to go with my life and stuff, and I also started realizing that maybe I will never reach the satisfaction of understanding the universe, because it can't be reached in a lifetime, I feel like.
Yeah.
But I can, of course, participate in bringing society forward
Mm-hmm.
in this. So if that's my goal, it's going to be a very unsatisfactory life, right? So therefore, my third one would be art.
Mm-hmm.
Because art is something you derive a lot of satisfaction from, a lot of meaning, and it's a form of self-expression. So that's very important, and I think also art can teach us a lot about who we are and how we work.
Mm-hmm.
So art is the third one, and maybe fourth, philosophy or something.
Yeah, but I completely agree with your art point, but I didn't mean as a living itself, but more as a knowledge branches to understand
Okay.
the world. But I really like your point that maybe I communicated wrong or whatever, but the thing that you mentioned art in that question, I really like it. I wasn't mentioned, like I didn't mean that, but I like the point of using this creative part, or art is like in the point of meaning something. Yeah.
I mean, I guess if I would have to take art away, if it's not about how, like, where I want to focus on in life, but like academically.
Yeah, academically, like no
Yeah.
life or no hobbies or no activities. Yeah,
Right.
just knowledge.
Then for knowledge, it would be, of course, physics, and physics is super broad, so like you can already pick like 4 within physics to do that.
Yeah.
But physics, neuroscience, philosophy. Yeah, psychology is not gonna be it for me, because I think neuroscience takes the best aspects of psychology for studying. Yeah, like that's my perspective. I think.
I'm fine.
Yeah. The fourth one would maybe be philosophy, or I guess points of knowledge. Well, spirituality.
Yeah.
I think you can study that.
Yeah.
Study how, maybe, I don't know if you know Alan Watts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, oof. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think studying spirituality, studying, for example, what is nothingness,
Yeah.
stuff like that. I think that's something you can study also from an academic point of view,
Mhm.
like really analyzing that, for
Yeah,
example.
yeah,
Because, for example, Alan Watts has this video, and I always come back to it because it's what is nothingness.
Uh-huh.
And how he explains it through yin and yang, actually, which is funny because you're wearing this shirt. But he says you cannot envision nothingness without something. So if you think about nothingness, you are thinking about something,
Yeah.
and this something is nothingness. So there's this paradox. There cannot be nothingness without something to contrast it. Just like my hand casts a shadow on the wall. Without my hand, there won't be a shadow. But without the shadow, there won't be a hand. So they are like intertwined, and they cannot be separated. So then it's also weird when you think about life or death. Like I cannot also fathom the thought of there being nothing after death, because when you die, there is nothing, people say, but there is nothing without something. So there is something about being dead, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I cannot wrap my head around it. I will never understand it. So I cannot believe that it just simply ends there. And that's funny, because all my research and all my learning in neuroscience would prove exactly the opposite. Like, you're dead, that's it.
Yeah.
There's nothing, you know? So spirituality really goes beyond that, and like studies basically how we work and how our brain works outside of what we can explain from neuroscience. So yeah.
Are you afraid of death?
Yeah, I was afraid of this one, but I think now I guess I am afraid of death, but I'm more afraid of not living a life worth living. If I feel satisfactory with my life, I think dying is not so bad. But before I die, I want to experience a lot more things. So now, in this moment, I'm probably afraid of death because I'm like, oh fuck, I still want to do a lot of things. But at some point, hopefully, I will be satisfied and I will live a meaningful life. And it sounds depressing, like I'm not living one now, but I'm doing a lot of stuff that I like. But yeah, I want to experience much more in this world before I go, you know?
Yeah.
And at some point, I think also through like internal searching and maybe going out and like doing more meditation and more studying about spirituality, that I might find solace in that or something.
How often do you think about that you are gonna be dead someday? That you won't always be alive?
Not often, but there's this one song that has the lyrics like, don't forget about dying, don't forget about your friend death, don't forget that you will die. And always if I listen to that song, it's like this like a very melancholic or very weird feeling comes over me, because it evokes something, you know? If you realize that you are going to die, then you're also more aware of being alive.
Yeah.
In some way.
Yeah.
So I think people should be more aware with that. And also that's why I think some things that give you thrills, like going into a roller coaster or jumping off a cliff in the water, stuff like that makes you feel alive because you are confronted with the possibility that you might die someday.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? Are you satisfied with if it would end right now?
I think, like, I cannot say yes, completely yes, but I am quite satisfied of where I am right now, and I try to think about that. Like 2 days ago, I was listening the Lex Friedman podcast, and then that led me to listen one video which is called "What is my life?" or "How is one day of my life?" of Lex Friedman, and every day he woke up and think, "I'm gonna die." I'm gonna die and I would be fine and I won't always be alive or something like that. And that make me think like, I think I reflect about that like quite often compared maybe to the general population, like a couple of times each month or so. But he reflect about that every day. Yeah. And that makes me think a lot. And I think I have a different stage because when I was in Thailand, I was reflecting about that like almost every day. Like at least in the temple, every day was like, I'm gonna die. And it's fine. Like if you know me in Spain, you will know me for this sentence like, bro, we're gonna die. You need to be alive. You need to do things like, let's go, let's jump to this place or let's travel. And I used to use this sentence a lot because that makes you do a lot of things. But I love this sentence, one life, but not only because makes you jump from a cliff or travel, but also because reminds you that there is only one, and one life make me think about one project. And I need to do crazy things to life, but also have a project and a plan that makes me feel fulfillment, and that I don't forget that one day I will die, you know?
Yeah, that's a really good one, because I think I would be more the opposite of that. I think because if a friend of mine would be like, fuck it, you will die soon, let's go party tonight or something like that, then I would be like, no, I'm good, I'm gonna stay home,
But yeah.
And so that's, for me, it's very hard to grasp this idea of I'm gonna die someday. And I think a lot of people forget this in daily life, they're very caught up in small things, materialistic things, but also they're just stressed about a lot of small things, and it keeps them busy all day. So I think it has benefits, both of it, to constantly be reminded of death. Memento mori, I think that it's called.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just this switching between it. Like sometimes you are like, well, I'm gonna die someday. I need to, like do something with my life, and it's very good. But also, that's not gonna help you achieve long-term goals or plan out stuff, because that's like in the moment.
Yeah.
I think it makes you live more in the moment, and that's really good for feeling alive, feeling grounded, and everything associated with that. And then the flip side of it is that if you don't think you're gonna die, then you're like, well, my life is, I guess, endless, so I can do whatever also. But then you are gonna plan long-term things, like, oh, I'm gonna start like a garden or something, because no, I will not die tomorrow, or I guess you don't think about that, so you can build projects, you can cultivate things.
Yeah, I think it's a hard balance, but I think it's really important to keep in mind while we are living.
Yeah.
Like, we will die, but in a way that is not destroying yourself, because that leading you to destroying behaviors. Because if I think, okay, I'm gonna die, let's take a lot of drugs and stuff, like that's not the point from my sentence, It's like doing things that keeps you happy, keeps you evolving, whatever is the meaning of your life, but thinking about the long-term project. But waking you up, like you wake up, you do your things, you finish the day, and you think, okay, I did a good day, but it was towards my long-term goal, but I also did some things that I enjoy, like more memento mori things. It's a difficult balance, but I think in the meaning of my life, I think that's a really important key to take into account.
I guess it like really points to the question, like what is a satisfactory day,
Yeah. No,
because you said you want to work towards like a long-term thing, but you also want to do something in the moment, and I guess that's like a good way to start. Like every day I will do something for my long-term things, and I will do something for myself for like living.
Yeah, but that's too general.
Yeah, that's
like
too general.
Now that I'm listening to you, is like the sentence I said is too general.
Yeah, I guess so, but it does point to like, okay, what causes a satisfactory day?
Yeah, and for you.
I'm thinking it for myself.
Not like I meant like for every person. Like you need to wonder that if it's it cannot be a standardized that like each person has their own goals or needs.
Because when I think about satisfying day, I think about, okay, I did some sort of physical activity for sure, or I'm recovering from physical activity. I did something for maybe studying or learning something new, and it could be like YouTube videos about interesting things, reading articles, doing some schoolwork, and I guess like doing something free time, like gaming or something.
Yeah.
But I do notice sometimes, and also during this course, I mean, our school is very busy, like we sometimes work from 9 to 5.
Yeah, a lot of days.
That caused me to have a lot of respect for people working a 9 to 5 job 4 or 5 days a week. That's crazy, and we eventually will do that probably. So I'm like, well, shit, that's really hard to have a life outside of that. And sometimes I'm at home, after school, and then I think, okay, but I'm still stressed, I need to do something to relax, but then I'm so busy like trying to relax that I'm not really relaxing. Do you recognize that? Or I think you are more, you can let go easier in that way.
I think I kind of, in some day, I was too stressed because of that, and I reached a point where I would say normally or usually I'm able to disconnect from one thing. Like I think the point remains in being present. Like as much as as much as you develop this ability to be present, you are able to disconnect from the world, be in that moment, and there is nothing else. So the sentence of 50 minutes of working in the, like you are reading or you are working for the school or university, and then 10 minutes of break, like completely break everything, you do whatever you love, listening music, or for instance I draw or talking with people, like that balance, for me it's amazing. I think you really need that to disconnect for 10 minutes, and then you can keep working because you also want to be there. So I think that that's a metaphor for the life, you know, like you work 8 hours because that's how the world works. We are not gonna wonder that, that's a fact. And then in the moment you disconnect, you completely disconnect. And setting alarms for me helped me a lot, you know, like for in the morning I'm gonna meditate, you know, and for meditating happily I need an alarm, you know, like I completely forget that there is time, there is university, there is work to do, because this moment is a conscious moment, you know, aware moment. So.
I guess that convinced me even more to get meditating again. But you know, sometimes I'm gaming, and I think for most people, especially of our age, it's just Instagram, Reddit, or TikTok. So if you say 50 minutes of work and then 10 minutes of Instagram, I think that would probably how people spend their time then. That's 10 minutes doing whatever they want.
Well, but they don't want to use Instagram.
No, exactly. And that's why I also like deleted it for a little bit. Also Reddit, and now I'm browsing YouTube Shorts. So like it's stupid. I should also delete that from my phone, I guess. But I did get bored because of it sometimes, but I think that was good, because then I got this feeling that I had more time somehow. So this time on Instagram, Reddit or YouTube, like digesting short clips of content, you don't really learn a lot from it. Or if there is, because I follow a lot of learning things or a lot of mind things, motivation things, then you listen to it, but you're not really digesting it.
Completely agree.
So I am doing this for 10 minutes, but then afterwards I'm still stressed, you know, I still feel like I did actually nothing. It feels like I did 50 minutes of work, and now I'm doing 50 minutes of work again. Instead of having this 10 minutes. So I think that's really a problem in society right now. But how would you feel that time? Like 10 minutes of meditating, or
like when I am studying? Like depends on the day. Of course I'm not always able to do it perfectly, like I was saying the hypothetical case, but I would say 50 minutes of working. Then one thing that I do is listening music. Like I have this playlist for working, I have this playlist for resting, you know.
Oh, nice.
And it's like both of them are associated with the thing, like Pavlovian conditioning. And then in this moment I'm also drawing, but I choose drawing because I love drawing. You can do whatever you think. Also I think that you need to choose something that helps you with working, you know, or at least not helping, but at least not resting, like because Instagram, I think, is not gonna help you. It's gonna make you forget the things. But for instance, exercise or talking with people or drawing, I think that's the top things to do. But it's, I mean, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying that the theory that's the point that I want to reach, and that would be good.
If I think about the things that are satisfying actually, but because for me, right now I realize like, okay, I will do some schoolwork, maybe 50 minutes or whatever time, and then I get hungry or something, like, okay, I'm getting up, and I also love cooking, so cooking is this big outlet for me. So I put on some good music, I cook, but then I also I love dancing, so I will dance in my room for maybe 10 minutes. And then after that, when I sit back at my desk to do some more studying, then it feels like I did something for myself, you know, then it feels satisfying. And I guess maybe then this default mode network is activated in this way.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the key, that this default mode network needs to be activated for a little bit. Also, I saw actually a YouTube short today about Andrew Huberman, and he said that there was this experiment where people had to do some task, and then an alarm would go off, and they would have to do 10 seconds of nothing, just sitting. And then when they looked at their brain waves, or they did some imaging of their brain, and they saw that this person was running this in reverse, the same thing you do with sleeping, running the scenario in reverse that they were studying or practicing, 20 times the speed of what they normally do it on. So then this 10 seconds of sitting still doing nothing, you're not allowed to do anything, this already like greatly increased their ability to retain the information or to learn this new thing.
Yeah.
And I think when your mind is busy with stuff and then you go to Instagram, your mind is still busy with stuff. It's stuff you choose to do, I guess.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's from addiction, or like you try to distract your mind, but still your brain is working, you know, at some point.
I read the...
Yeah, you read that?
I read that paper, like I read the same thing, but with memory task. Like in psychology of memory, we read something like, okay, you have this battery of things, and then you, after learning, you have different conditions, like phone condition, talking condition, or resting with eyes closed in a dark room. And the third one was the best one to retain the information, like always.
The dark room.
Yeah, the dark room, or the eyes closed, or no talking, just being quiet and resting. Yeah, so but it's a complete different approach, but same results.
Yeah.
And actually, you don't need to believe the papers. You can do it in yourself. And for me, works totally like resting compared to Instagram.
Yeah, but it's very hard though, like because you know I think everyone can kind of relate when I envision this just completely automatic response to like standing up from my desk and I go to my bed, or for someone it's a couch or a chair, a different chair or whatever, sit down or lie down, get your phone, Instagram.
Yeah.
Or Reddit or YouTube. And just do that. And sometimes I just completely like zone out, like what time it is, how long I've been on my phone. Sometimes it's 10 minutes, sometimes it's 20 minutes, sometimes even 30 minutes, you know? And I'm like, what the fuck did I do in this time, you know?
Yeah.
Instead of being present in the moment about the time that you are actually living in.
Yeah.
And therefore I think I experienced the sense that I had way more time this week, because I took those moments and I couldn't do Reddit, I couldn't do Instagram, so I was forced to be kind of bored, and so I would lay down, but I would be with my phone. I'm like, my phone is not interesting, so I lay my phone to the side, you know, and I'm like, well, what the fuck now? But then maybe I was bored, but still it felt like I had more time, and I did like more time or more things for myself, you know?
Yeah.
It's very weird how that works, because you think about, I need rest, I want to just go on Instagram, even though it's not resting. It's just an addiction or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very weird.
Yeah, the society, all of us connect these things, associate these things, like resting as Instagram, but it's not actually resting.
No.
It's more and more and more information.
Yeah.
And that amount of information that you cannot process.
Yeah.
It's like, you lose the time.
Yeah. I wonder what the ideal would be for, you know, spending time on Instagram, or what you were using it for, because of course Instagram specifically has this algorithm of providing you with content that you enjoy. So for me, that constitutes like, I guess, training videos, a lot of dance content, a lot of stuff about meditation, mindfulness, neuroscience, stuff like that, and that's all interesting to me, of course.
Yeah.
But they also try to teach you stuff like these reels, because they are informational for me, but still I don't learn anything from it.
No,
you know.
I agree.
And then I'm like, okay, I am digesting this content and I'm not doing anything with it. But would there be like a threshold? Maybe I am 2 minutes on Instagram. I look at like 2 informational videos, then I shut it off and I think about it. Would that be better? Would that actually be beneficial? Would it actually be beneficial than doing no Instagram at all? Or maybe 3 minutes or 5 minutes and then thinking about it. What is the ideal range of digesting content on Instagram? Because if I see dance videos, it motivates me to dance. You know, I'm like, wow, that's so good. But at some point, if I have too much of it, I'm like, wow, they're so good at dancing. I suck. You know, I will never probably be that good. But yeah, that's not gonna do anything good. So what is the sweet spot? I feel like it's very difficult to study that, but still.
Yeah, I think using a app that blocks you the app, it's really important, like the key for that.
Yeah,
I would say, like you set your limit in a conscious way, like okay, 10 minutes of Instagram, and then you always fit that, and you don't use Instagram more. I think that's a really good point, like because Instagram is not bad itself. Yeah, you can learn a lot of things from that, and you connect with a lot of people. But yeah, where is this balance for each person in using it?
Yeah, because I mean, Instagram does have a lot of fucking nice memes, you know? And I sometimes laugh my ass off, and then I send it to friends, and friends laugh their ass off. So it brings some joy, you know?
Yeah.
But it's always like, haha, okay, like going on with reels, you know? So I guess maybe something like in a good way would be watching some content yourself, maybe sending some stuff to your friends that you find funny, and then watching what they send you, and maybe like respond to each other, and that's it.
Yeah.
And you maybe do that 2 or 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Because, well, that maybe sounds already like a lot, but normally you would do it 10 or 20 times a day.
Yeah.
Like the amount of time people spend on their phones is crazy. I saw like some YouTube shorts that I think said like 6 hours a day is quite normal on your phone.
A friend who lives like just above us, like he's amazing. He showed me the other day the phone, and it was like 7 hours, and it's not.
But that's normal.
Yeah, that's normal, and it's like you are not thinking like this guy is using a lot of the phone. Like no, you don't think that. It's like a normal person. It's 7 hours.
Yeah, and that's 1/4 of your day.
Yeah,
that's wow. What if you?
No, it's even more because we sleep 8 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's basically half of your day. Yeah, wow, that's quite scary. But yeah, I think it's not all bad. I mean, if you would spend maybe 1 or 2 hours on there, it's really nice for, you get some sort of relaxation from it. But more than that, it's not really good, I think.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you like my tips for not using Instagram, or not using but controlling the time that you are spending in apps. Like one is log out of Instagram, because that gives you 1-2 seconds more for being aware that you are gonna use this app.
Yeah.
2, develop like download app that tracks you the time that you are using.
I'm gonna do that actually after this.
And 3rd, like write down in a paper like why do you want to use the app, or why are you using app, and are you happy with the use that you had the last week or something like that.
Fun thing.
Yeah. And first I would do the 3rd one.
Yeah,
I think that would be my top 3 tips.
Yeah, I mean, do you apply this yourself?
I think like I had a lot of problems in my mind with using Instagram, because I wanted to build this project of Psicosapiens and upload YouTube videos, but then it was super hard for me because like back time, like 2 years ago, I was hating Instagram, like really hating, like not this point, like, oh, it can be useful for learning that. Like it was like, no, fuck, Instagram is the worst. But on the other side, I wanted to build this project.
Yeah.
So I upload one YouTube video and then I use Instagram or YouTube, of course,
Yeah.
to reply comments. And then I feel so bad with my time. And then I delete Instagram. And after 1 month, I upload another video and then I delete Instagram and again and again and again. But right now, I feel so good because I'm able to use Instagram for 10 minutes, upload the things I want and not using it.
That's really that's quite nice and actually quite difficult. So props for that. Honestly.
But for instance, I use a lot of WhatsApp, you know.
Yeah. Okay. But I feel like that's less
harmful.
Yeah, because you're directly communicating with people.
Yeah, but even though I feel like I use it a lot, but in terms of Instagram, I'm quite satisfied of the point of reach because I'm able to create things without feel frustrated for using Instagram because I don't really use a lot that. And that Lex Friedman mentioned this thing that if you upload things because you want to be a creator, setting this limit in 10 minutes and then 10 minutes for each post that you upload, or 5 minutes, so you don't go above this limit never.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. I upload nothing, so what's the limit gonna be for me? But it's really nice.
Yeah.
I was also wondering about the yoga challenge that I set for you.
Okay, I must say I'm so disappointed with myself.
Oh, yes.
I didn't really follow the challenge. I was using this excuse that I need to do the warm thing, and I want to meditate, do yoga during the morning, but then I need to wake up early, but I need to do the warm, so it was really bad.
Okay.
I can say, okay, so good with Instagram, but I wasn't able to follow the challenge of 7-day yoga. But I am still thinking that I'm gonna try to do it again because I want to follow it, but really bad.
No, I mean, that's fine as long as you tried it. Like, that's still good. I mean, I did not go on Instagram or Reddit up to now.
I'm so happy for you.
But come on, like YouTube Shorts are kind of the same thing.
But you meet the criteria for your challenge.
Yeah, but I didn't follow the like idea behind it. You know, so
we can set another challenge for us.
Yeah, maybe from Monday forwards. Maybe it's weekend. I'm gonna let myself off. But from Monday, I'll probably maybe set the timer for maybe 15 minutes of time on Instagram and Reddit each day, and that's it. I cannot change this thing on my phone. I am not allowed to change the setting or be like, cancel this restriction. No, 15 minutes, that's it. See how I feel afterwards. But I know what's gonna happen then. I'll wake up, and waking up was already for me associated with grabbing phone. Let's check Instagram. Chilling in bed, like looking at a bit of Reddit and stuff. And then my 15 minutes is gone in the morning. Yeah. So I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, it's really
gonna be hard.
Yeah. Coming back to the top things, deep things. Another thing that I wanted to ask you, it's a really change of topic, but who cares? It's like, do you believe in mind? Like in mind as this thing separated from the biological part, that it's like a real, like running, flowing of thoughts or whatever, that is not like my question can be stored in two things. Like there is mind separated from biology, there is mind instigated in biology. Does it make sense for you?
Yeah.
Like mind in the neuroscience, or there is only neuroscience biology?
I think the second option would be it, because, well, if you say mind, I think about consciousness. So I don't know if that's like a correct way of thinking about it, like perceiving and like thinking and experiencing things. I think about that when I think about mind. So I don't know if that's what you mean with mind.
But I mean that, but needs to be like more spiritual, like more related, like kind of soul, like not soul, but this mind, like I have myself in my mind, and this is more like religion, but not biology, you know? It's not science, it's more abstract than that.
Yeah, I think it's
more like you are not able to explain the reality only with biology. You are never gonna be able to do that, so you believe in mind.
I think...
Or in some way of mind. You can also give your definition of mind.
Yeah, I mean, for me it then still relates a lot to consciousness.
Okay.
But also just, like experiences or things in your brain or things that make you that cannot be explained right now with biology. I know that that's there. And then I guess the question is whether I think that will always be, that's kind of what you're asking, that it will always be separate of biology, that it's just like that cannot be explained and it's something separate. I think to some degree. So, for example, I don't think it's completely separate from biology because, and I also mentioned this in my thesis, I think eventually our experiences and our being manifests due to activity in the brain. Therefore, there is a link between the brain and how it functions and how we have experience and how we have mind. So it cannot be separated from it, but whether it can completely prove it, I don't know. I hope so, but I don't think so. Not with what we currently understand of biology, because we've tried to do that for so long. And there are some theories about that. For example, when we think about visual perception and envisioning this microphone in our head tomorrow, of course biology cannot prove that yet, psychology cannot prove that, any science cannot prove that yet. But I don't know if it will ever do that, but there is already some theories about that. For example, there is this theory in visual working memory research that states that a certain stimulus, for example, you can envision a computer screen, and it has like squares on there, like 4 squares or 5 squares, and they're all different colors, and you see them for 1 second and then they disappear. Try to remember which colors they are, where they are on the screen. And we can do that, and we can do that up to 3 or 4 stimuli at a time. So I can, and it's based on the person, 3 or 4. But there were 2 theories about this. One was that you kind of remember them all a little bit. So you remember maybe 8, but you can only recall like 4 because you are like using resources in your brain to think about all of them, but then you come to 4. Or it's just slots, like, 4 slots are filled, so therefore the other stimuli on the screen you will not remember because they're just not there. And the theory also states that it's due to oscillations in the brain. So, for example, a blue square will be through neural firing every second, like fire, 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 and then there's another green square that's remembered by a different firing at a different time. So fire, 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 fire. So they're like going in sync, but at slightly different times. And then at some point, if you have too many in your memory, so there are like a lot of firing at a lot of different time points, then they start interfering with each other because the time is too close, you know, of the firing. And then that's the moment when you cannot fill your mind with more. So then there's this connection between perceiving things, like a thing that has to do with the mind, and neuroscience. So it can in some way explain it. But then if we think like, okay, but does this completely tell me how I represent these squares in the brain? Then of course we can't. So I think to some degree we can explain the things that are associated with the mind by biological things, by things in neuroscience, but not completely. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I understand. Okay. The next, even more that deep, which is the meaning of life for you? Your meaning of life.
Yeah, I mean, for me it was always knowledge or understanding how things work. So I already said this a bit, but for me it was always understanding how the universe works. That was my goal, you know? That was what drove me. So I was reading a lot, watching a lot of videos on physics, philosophy, neuroscience, biology, all the topics that are associated with it. But then I do realize now that I'm a little bit older that there's more to life. And for example, art, for me that's breakdancing or hip-hop dancing. For you it might be painting, but everyone has their expression of doing that. Art makes me feel really good somehow, you know, even though it doesn't provide me any information about the universe or Newton's laws or whatever.
Yeah.
So for me now, I think the satisfaction in life will not come from only acquiring knowledge and understanding things, but also creating things. I think creating things is very powerful. It's somehow very satisfying. So for me, the meaning of life lies in like understanding how the world works and also offering things to the world, expressing myself. I think expressing myself eventually is the ability to express myself. That's like the meaning of life for me. Yeah.
Wow, that's a really good answer.
Yeah.
Like being in a short way, that's a good answer.
Yeah. Because I would envision myself being very satisfied if I would offer like an art to some people, like maybe singing or playing an instrument or like doing a choreography or breakdancing where you just freestyle, painting, whatever art you would choose. I think presenting that to people and people enjoying it and it being a part of yourself, that's very validating and it makes you feel alive. Like your existence kind of matters, you know?
Yeah.
Because you're leaving also something behind or leaving an impression on people that matters. So for me with dance, I can feel a lot of emotion when I watch a choreo and I can tell that this person with his movements is telling a story about something of their experience, how they work, how their thinking is, you know, what they're feeling through movement, and that's very, very powerful. And if I could give that to other people, that would be very satisfying, you know. And I think with art, for example, with painting, you have the same thing. Like if you paint something out of your own feeling, out of your own like ways of thinking, of expressing yourself, you're struggling with something, or there's some image you want to show to the world, and you make this art and you show it to the world, and these people get a glimpse into what you experience as a person. That's very powerful and very satisfying. And I think science won't do that really.
Yeah.
Only art will do that. So yeah, I think that's really important for everyone, honestly.
And what role plays suffering in your meaning of life?
Well, it's funny because I watched a video about it, about a philosopher named Schopenhauer.
Mm-hmm.
And he also basically said that there will be suffering, there's a lot of suffering in the world, and there is going to be suffering. I think this is also based in Eastern philosophies, but there will be suffering, whether you like it or not, whether you run away from it or not, it will be there. So suffering should be as much alleviated as possible. and it should be accepted to some degree. So Schopenhauer said, happiness won't be reached by alleviating the suffering, but accepting that you will never be truly very happy, you know? So you have to be kind of content with having bad days, having good days, you know? But overall, it's good. But if you are gonna reach out and try to reach happiness or very, like, big things in happiness, you know, like, for example, doing drugs all the time or always chasing that high, then you won't be happy because you don't have a realistic image of life. So suffering in the meaning of life, I would say it will be there, and it has an important function because it makes you also realize that you have good things. So it definitely has a role, but it should be alleviated as much as possible. And then the question is, how do you do that? I don't fucking know. Tell me. But what do you think? Like,
I haven't watched this video or read really deep Schopenhauer, but I completely agree with that idea. It always lead me to the sentence of the brain is not physiologically prepared or ready or designed to be happy. You know, we cannot be happy. We cannot be always satisfied, because then where is the point of being alive? You know, we evolve to be unsatisfied and to fight for reaching another thing, you know, to hunt a rabbit or to be with that person or to whatever, you know. So I think it's really important to accept that suffering is gonna be in the life, as you said. And also I like the sentence from Viktor Frankl, really interesting psychiatrist, that suffering is not suffering if you have a meaning.
A what?
A meaning.
A meaning.
A purpose. A purpose. If you are pursuing a purpose, you have a meaning, a goal. This suffering is not suffering, you know, because in some way being 8 hours in front of a paper, it's suffering, you know, in some way, because you need to force yourself again to read that, and you are not able to do that, but you want. But if you have this purpose, I want to acquire this knowledge, it's not suffering. You forgot that it's suffering. Also running is suffering, you know. Running takes you a lot of effort, and it's even for runners, professional runners, it's like so cognitive demanding, like this, take this mindset towards that. But if you have a meaning, it's not suffering.
That's a really profound thought, actually, because if I think about it myself, for example, with breakdancing, I started maybe half a year ago, maybe 8 months ago. So I am training with people that have trained for years, you know, and they're really good. And I'm in my 20s, so I'm not starting it as a kid, you know, so I'm learning a new skill from the ground up. And so I'm not as good as them. And progress also doesn't allow me to be as good as them in 8 months or in a year or even 2 years. It will take me 7 years to be as good as they are now when they're my age. So then I go to breakdance, but I'm thinking like, but I'll never be as good as them. So I lose the purpose. And the purpose is just getting better for yourself, you know? Just for your own. And if I lose that purpose, if I have that negative thought, my motivation to go is almost zero. But if I get there, it's fun because I'm having fun and I like it. It's fun. But if then there's purpose again. But in that moment, I have this negative thought and all the purpose fades. And then I am not motivated to go. And then there is suffering. So it's really something you can apply to it. So it's a really good one, I think.
I think I would recommend you to read Viktor Frankl. You haven't. It's a psychiatrist who built this psychotherapy called logotherapy. The point is logos as meaning, and is psychotherapy making you find the meaning of your life. You know, the goal and the nucleus is there. And it's really interesting because this guy spent a lot of time with Jewish people. So they took him to Auschwitz and to other 3 concentration camps, and he spent there like 4 years or something, and he survived. And the first time he reached that point, like he ended up in the concentration camp, he had this book of logotherapy, not published yet, but he was like, imagine the you think of your life. You have been creating that for all your life, and then the Nazis destroyed his book. And for him, one of the points of surviving was to create this book and to publish, to help people. Yeah. So for him, this suffering was lower during this period because he wanted to publish that. And he emphasized a lot that is this theory working? Like this meaning of life really helps you to be alive? Because now it's not like, okay, working 8 hours. Now it's being in Auschwitz. Does it really work? And for him, it works. That's really interesting author.
So what is your meaning of life then? What drives you?
Holy shit. Okay. For me, I would start with balance, And that leads me a lot to Heraclitus or Nietzsche or even Jordan Peterson, having a balance between order and chaos. I think it's really important to have order, like waking you up and we have time order, you have a task order, you want to do a meditation because that's gonna give you a more productive because you want to do things or connect with yourself, this consciousness. In some way that's also chaos for me, but this conscious mind wandering and being in the moment, but also a chaos in terms that you don't have organized things, a little in the day, more in the week, for me it's the same, like 50 minutes of working, 10 minutes of chaos.
What is chaos for you then?
Chaos is not good question. Like not thinking, flow state.
Oh yeah, okay.
Drawing whatever I want, like talking with you, not knowing what are you gonna ask me.
Right.
Working beyond my comfort zone. Like for instance, being here in the Netherlands in Groningen, I'm doing a master that I don't know a lot about the background and not my city. Did in some way that chaos, think as this is from Jordan Peterson, you need your order part, but you need to always be for finding the meaning in this balance between order and chaos. You are working, but where is your limit? Your limit in experience thing, running more than you can do, or drawing more than you can do, or not knowing where are you going, or traveling without planning things. And for me, it's really important. And apart from this balance, I always take the evolution part, but not in some way in the biological meaning, but also in the philosophical, like always trying to go to a more developed point or deeper point, because I take the suffering part that you said from Schopenhauer, like there is always gonna be suffering, you need to accept that, and if you pursued one goal, the suffering is not that important, but there is no happiness always, and there is no happiness, the word that represent for me suffering plus happiness in towards this goal is evolution. So always trying to evolve and develop more myself. I would say also love, love as a more hedonistic part, like satisfaction, people socializing, like these are intrinsic biological needs. Like we need to socialize, and we need that.
Yeah, I think I need more chaos than when I hear it. I know some people that, well, if we follow this rationale, like chaos and order, I know a lot of people, or I have known a lot of people that have more chaos than order.
Yeah.
And I always thought like, they seem like they're enjoying life more or something. But then I would also see that these people might drop out of school, or I would see their skin getting worse, or them aging quicker because they're taking too much drugs, or too much alcohol, or going out too much, or just sleeping too little. But for me, it's always like been that disorder has been to like a larger part, you know, and a too big of a part.
Yeah.
So then I look at them and I'm like, okay, they might not be having like a long-term goal. They're not like going certain good directions with their life, but they are having a lot of fun, you know. And I'm just looking there and I'm like, well, I'm not going out because I want to get up at 10 o'clock in the morning so that I can work out, and after that I gotta study, and then, you know, I'm tired, so I'm not gonna go out that evening, you know, and that's my weekend or something.
Yeah.
So then I feel like, damn, I'm not really like living that life. So I guess I need some more of that, and some other people might need a little bit more of the order. And for example, I have this friend, and this is no shade to my friend because I also talked about this very intensely with him, and he's very easygoing in life, and he is very smart, like a really smart guy. He loves art, like painting and stuff, and he's really good at it, and he's very, very good at reaching this flow state that we talked about, which is for you like chaos, right? So I guess he really thrives in chaos, and he's cooking and he's painting and just having a great time, you know, and just going up in the moment, not thinking about other things. While I'm like, and I come there, you know, and we want to have dinner together. I'm like, ooh, we don't have groceries yet. I'm gonna get hungry soon. I need to eat, otherwise I will lose weight, and I want to gain weight with training, and having all these structural
he's going
things.
With the flow.
Yeah, and he goes with the flow, so he's just chilling, you know, and oh yeah, we can cook soon, you know, but oh yeah, I still need to do groceries, but you know, I'm just chilling now, you know. So no time, direction, and whatever. So he's probably having more fun and like enjoying life more in that moment. But then I've also seen him at like while he has maybe exams, you know, and then it's that he has a statistics exam, and he's not so good at statistics, or it's just not his strong point, and then he realizes this 3 days before the test, and then it's complete stress, you know. It's like, oh fuck, you know, someone needs to help me, and you know,
no more chilling.
No more chilling, but complete stress, and then, you know, he's just in disorder. So then I'm like, well, okay, I see the good points. He's able to live in the moment, and I can really learn from that, from him. And maybe he can learn from me to have a little bit more order, you know, like plan some things in advance, and, you know, build things up. So there's always this balance that needs to be kept, but it's so hard to find this balance, man.
It is. Yeah, I wanted, related with this chilling part and chaos and having fun, always Jordan Peterson said that in order to find the meaning of your life, you need to be responsible, and you need to increase your responsibility towards your goal, and that's gonna make you happy and give meaning for your life, you know. What do you think about that?
I would agree, but I don't like Jordan Peterson as much as I did previously, because I used to listen to him a lot, and also my father died when I was 5, so I've never really had these life lessons from a father figure or something. So I guess in that sense, Jordan Peterson really helped me to get motivation and get my shit together, which is why I actually went from like higher education to university, which is a little bit higher than that in the Netherlands, in the Dutch school system. And it really helped me. But at some point he got quite conservative with his thoughts, and he shared a lot of opinions about things he shouldn't have opinions about, because it's not in his realm. He's a psychologist, a clinical psychologist. And so with this, maybe I can agree, you need to take responsibility, but I am very hesitant to take things from him at this point, because he has some very black and white points of
Yeah.
view at certain things.
Yeah, I understand. I kind of have the same feeling as you, because my parents get divorced when I was 2, so I didn't spend too much time with my father, so I also have this Jordan Peterson as our father, you know.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, because I never had this fear of telling me values or I don't know, things.
Yeah, I think that's it doesn't get taught in school either, you know, like the meaning of life, or you know, like what makes a life satisfying. And you know, in high school I heard that you told stories about your experience, that you went against a lot of teachers on like religion and stuff, like it doesn't make sense and stuff. I can relate to that because, well, I didn't talk about religion necessarily, but I was not like doing well in school. In high school I was just slacking and doing nothing. So they will probably shame you for it, or like be like, oh, this is a bad student, but never really look at their situation at home, or be empathetic towards that. And I guess that fades away when you're just dealing with so many children that are like annoying or whatever. But they never really tell you about the meaning of life in school. Like philosophy for us was a course you could choose later on in high school, but it was not on the program, whereas religion was a course we had to take for the first 3 years, and we learned about Buddhism and Hinduism and stuff, but never really deep philosophy, you know. And I think that's really something essential, I guess, to learning how to deal with stuff.
I completely agree with you, because we are humans, and all the person is gonna ask these questions in their life. Maybe you do it once per day or once per week, like what's consciousness? I know you do, but maybe some people once per year or once in a lot of time. But I think even though it's really important to wonder that, because eventually you will do.
And some people do it when they're 15 years old. Some people will do it when they're 24 years old. Some people will do it when they're 40, you know, or never find out. And that's of course a job from the parents too. And I know that that when you, for example, have kids and you really question your kids on what they think. For example, when a kid asks you, you know, like, why do rocks fall from the sky, you know? And they're like, well, because of gravity, you know? Why? So like, well, because you know, there's this formula and it says this. Why? And then you're like, I don't know. But then you should also ask your kid, what do you think? You know? To like trigger their mindset to think about things critically and like evaluate these things. But I don't think that gets taught enough or something. It's always like, learn this, learn that. And that's good, I think. Some basic education, some basic math and biology, whatever. But also more, it's missing a side of human nature that really speaks to philosophizing and like spirituality and stuff. I think that's shoved away in Western culture.
I completely agree with you.
It's quite sad, I think.
We should be asked more during our education, like, what do you think? Or what's your process?
I think that's would be really beneficial.
That reminds me the conversation we had before the podcast, or at the beginning, about Joe Rogan, like being always curious, always wondering things. That's a really good trait for dealing with life.
I think so. Maybe that's why he's so successful too. But I try to stay open-minded. Sometimes it's very difficult to stay open-minded, you know, if someone
it's
says
really easy to say it, but to be objective with your mind open.
I guess but I feel like in your expertise you can be maybe a little bit cocky. Like I have some friends that believe in, you know, nanoparticles and 5G, and I've spent some time discussing with him like it's not true, and this is the biology behind this, so therefore it's not true. And, you know, being very confident in that. But if someone would argue to me about economics, then I don't fucking know, you know. That's not my expertise. So I think we should be but also you should be open-minded, of course, in your field of expertise, so you can learn a lot. I think you can be very good at something, but you never know everything, you know? So I think also that makes one good scientist from a bad one.
Yeah.
Where, for example, Robert Haverkas, like he drinks a beer with some students after class, you know, and I think that's probably where he gets some ideas from, and you exchange ideas and you do it over like a beer, so it's just chill, you know. And then I think if I would be a professor later, I would probably do that too, you know, because there's these young students that are promising and they can tell you stuff that you don't know or that you never thought about, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't thought in that way about that, but that's really smart. Yeah.
I think it's really smart from him, you know. And
no, it is.
Yeah.
But I thought about, okay, this guy want to disconnect, but I haven't thought about these guys are telling me new ideas for my papers. And maybe this famous paper, the idea was from talking with students.
Maybe, yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and also, of course, you can do that, and then also like talk like this or talking with someone from art, it brings some new insights, because I remember quite a few times where I was high or like I was having some beers or whatever, and just talking with random people at parties, and I'm like they're like, oh, what do you do, you know, and I'm like, well, neuroscience, blah blah blah, and it comes to consciousness sometimes. And then I tell my perspective, and then they say like, wow, that's really interesting. I'm like, but what do you think? You know, someone from a completely different profession can also offer an opinion on this, because consciousness, or maybe things about how the universe works, how the mind works, we're all humans. We're all experiencing this thing, right? So talking about these subjects, these kind of philosophical rooted topics, you can get a lot of insights from people from a lot of different disciplines. You know, I think that's really nice. Yeah. So,
when I sometimes need to do a work or an assignment, for instance, like the caffeine one, like I like to ask people that they don't have knowledge to see if they give me new perspective. Like I enjoy a lot like talking and sharing the things that I'm doing. So I like to share with them, then think, what would you do? How would you study how caffeine can delay your circadian clock? Like, do you think that would do, or what do you think?
Yeah, that's really handy. And also, I think people in arts do have like some strong opinions about that. And I have some friends, or I have a woman friend that is doing Minerva, like an art study, and she also has some interesting ideas, and you know, it's fun exchanging that stuff, you know, with a lot of different people. Yeah, I think you then learn a lot. Maybe you should have some people that do arts on the podcast, you know? Talk about art and how it might relate to whatever.
Yeah, I should. That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
But I need to find an interesting artist that likes to share information and want to be here. But yeah, I would agree, of course.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of cool artists in the city here in Groningen. So. Yeah.
If you present me one, it will be cool.
I will think about it. Yeah. What by the way did you learn about caffeine again? Because I forgot a little bit, but you did your presentation about it. So.
Yeah. So to give a little bit of background to the people, so we have this core term of behavior, which is basically chronobiology. There is the circadian rhythms that our body varies and fluctuates in so many ways, like in our body temperature and melatonin and stuff. So if you receive light during the day, you are gonna advance your clock. So if you your day is 24 hours, then it's gonna be 23.5. But if you have light during the evening, like with phones, you are gonna delay your clock, right? So caffeine itself, apart from how it disrupts sleep and your REM sleep and whatever, is not gonna shift anything without light. But caffeine with light, caffeine potentiates the effect of light. Yeah. So if it would delay the clock in your morning if you have light, like
But
from.
what do you mean with the delaying clock?
Oh, sorry,
Because
advanced.
people and advanced, because I think people outside of chronobiology would probably not understand.
Yeah,
like,
sometimes it's really hard to know where until which extent. I will explain that here, because when we were philosophing about the mind, I mean, a lot of people get lost probably, another go really fast. So yeah, you're now. Let's go to explain to the broad audience. So you have your circadian rhythms. A lot of them takes 24 hours because it's one spin round of the Earth. How do you say that?
Yeah, so it's like just one cycle of a day.
Yeah, exactly. So basically they are related with that. So you want to go to sleep in 16 hours after waking up. Like you wake up at 8 and you want to go to sleep at midnight. So if you drink caffeine while you are having light, you are gonna advance your clock. So you want to sleep at 11. You know, you biologically you are gonna release melatonin earlier, but without light, only caffeine is not gonna do any effect on that during the morning. It's not gonna advance anything. Light itself is gonna advance, but if you consume caffeine during the evening, you are gonna delay your clock like around 40 minutes. So with light, I don't know how much it will be, but let's say 1 hour or so if you have light at 8 p.m. But if you also have caffeine, it could be 40 minutes more. So your day would be like 25 hours.
Yeah, so you would sleep even later.
Yeah.
And only when you present it to light at 8 p.m. alone.
Yeah. But you need light. So for instance, you are having caffeine during the evening without any light, any phone, whatever, you will not delay your clock.
Right, okay.
But we have phones. So any day that you consume caffeine, probably you are always delaying your clock. And then you wake up and you're really tired because you need to sleep more because you delayed your clock.
Yeah.
And then you want to sleep later, and this endless loop. So that's basically what but I mean, that's summarizing that, okay, this rat study and this mice study, they found that and they found that, but that's the conclusion.
Okay. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in that regard, if you would drink, for example, if your biological clock is completely messed up, for example, you sleep at 3 a.m., you wake up at 12, you know? In that case, it would be pretty beneficial then if as soon as you wake up, and that's then probably 12, so at noon, and you drink coffee, you will advance your clock, meaning that you will sleep earlier, and then you will also be tired earlier because of the melatonin release, and then maybe you will want to sleep at 1 p.m. or 1 a.m. And wake up at 10 a.m. and then you sip coffee at 10 a.m. and then you will want to sleep at 12, you know, and there you go, your biological clock is fixed. So then I guess it would help to drink coffee in the morning to fix your biological clock.
Yeah, so caffeine can be really helpful.
Yeah.
But during the morning, during the evening, be careful.
And then not during the evening. Like I'm quite guilty of it, and I think people in the Netherlands also drink a lot of coffee in general. I mean, let's not talk about Spain, because I think people have like a espresso after dinner, right? That's quite normal. No? I think in Italy they do that.
In Italy, in Spain, at 6-7 could be normal.
Yeah? Well, okay. And I think that's also normal here, but in Spain it's crazy probably.
I think it's worse than here. Yeah. But after this Andrew Haberman podcast about caffeine, I try to consume caffeine as late as 4 or 5.
Okay, that's still quite broad.
It is.
Because I personally know that caffeine has a half-life of 6 hours. So that means that if you maybe drink 2 cups of coffee in the morning at, say, 10 a.m., then 6 hours later, 4 p.m., there's still 1 cup of coffee worth of caffeine in your blood.
Yeah.
So then at 10 p.m., and you might sleep around that time or a little bit later, that means there's half a cup worth of caffeine in your blood the moment you sleep. But then you also have to consider that you drink coffee on different times of the day. So you drink one at 10 a.m., okay, 2, and then you have 1 left in your system at 4 p.m. Then you drink another. Then you have 2 cups of coffee present at 4 p.m. Then it's 10, you have still 1 cup of coffee left in your system when you go to bed. And 1 cup of coffee at 10 and 1 at 4, that's still pretty okay. Like, people with normal work schedules drink a lot of coffee during the day. So there might still be a lot of caffeine left in your system the moment you go to sleep. And even though you're able to sleep, because personally I can sleep with like Red Bull in my system, when I just drank a Red Bull. But still your non-REM sleep will be impacted by caffeine. So the more caffeine you consume during the day and later in the day, the more it's gonna stay in your system. So when you combine that with your research that consuming caffeine in the evening, I think it comes down to the caffeine content in your blood because of that. So even if you drink at 3 cups of coffee, then still in the evening there's still like 1 cup of coffee or more in your blood, which will still like delay your clock. So you still want to sleep later. And the more you drink the later in the day you drink it, the worse the effect. So therefore, personally, I try to not drink coffee after 1 p.m. So, yeah, I wake up with, I don't know, like 9 or 10 a.m. When I can do it on my own, probably 10. But I drink a cup of coffee or like 2. And then at 1, I will or before 1, I might have another one, and that's it. Because then at my sleep, I might have less than 1 cup of coffee worth of caffeine in my blood.
Yeah, I think that's pretty smart.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah.
I think also tolerance and stuff,
Yeah, it's really hard to follow, as Andy Herman would say, the protocols and science-based tools and stuff.
Yeah, it gets really difficult to follow all the health rules that kind of science tries to show us,
Yeah.
At some point I also say like enough is enough. I am gonna get that fucking coffee, I am gonna take that Red Bull, I am gonna drink that alcohol, because you also want to have fun at life sometimes. Yeah, that's the chaos part again.
that's also important. I think to have a balance, even though the healthy rules, breaking them. Okay, so to say goodbye for the podcast, I wanted to give you all the microphone, all the power, all the attention, and to say any message that you want to the listeners, or any conclusion, any reflection, or whatever you want. But before that, I wanted to really say to thank you, because in my mind was like maybe 1 hour, but it's 2 hours and a half, and I really enjoyed the conversation. I was really fluent, and I think we discussed a lot of really interesting topics that it's not just a podcast, but that we really discussed that outside of here. So I'm grateful for having you here, and I really enjoy. So
thanks. I enjoyed too.
All yours, the microphone.
I don't really have that much to say, but for one, I really have to fucking pee. I have to pee really bad. But I mean, for everyone listening, probably like some friends of ours from class will be listening. So hope I was scientifically correct with everything, because I was going in, I was like, oh, what if I make a mistake in research? Because I want to be correct. I don't want to say stuff that is not true. So I hope that I managed with that, and I really think a lot of the stuff that we discuss is applicable to all people of all different professions. So I hope that everyone that listens that is not based in science also got something out of it, and maybe build an appreciation for like science, and realize that every walk of life can tell you something about life, and about thinking about like philosophical ideas. So whatever you do in life, it always has some benefit to understanding life, and what the meaning is. So I guess that.